When we're writing numbers in standard form, we need to remember the equation a times 10 to the n, where a is any number between 1 and 10, and n is any positive or negative integer. So a could be 1.63, it could be 6.45, it could not be 12.2 because 12 is bigger than 10. So any number between 1 and 10 for a, and then n can be any positive integer. Let's start with the first question here. What is 1,739 in standard form? Well, we know that it's going to take the form a times 10 to the n. Our a has to be a number between 1 and 10. In this case, it's going to be 1.739. We know that it's going to be multiplied by 10. All we need to do is figure out what power it's going to be, and for that we're going to count how many times we've moved the decimal place. So we started with the decimal place here. We're going to move it once, twice, 3 times. So it is going to be 10 to the power 3. Now it's 10 to the power 3 and not 10 to the power minus 3 because we are moving the decimal place to the left. So if you're moving the decimal place to the left, then it's going to be a positive number. If you're moving the decimal place to the right, it's going to be a negative number. For our next example, what is 0.0000542 in standard form? Again, we start with a times 10 to the n. We know that a needs to be a number between 1 and 10. So here we're going to pick 5.42. I'm going to multiply that by 10 to the power. We need to count how many times we move the decimal place. So we went once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, but this time we've moved the decimal place to the right, so it's going to be 10 to the minus 4. For the next two examples, we have a number that's in standard form already, and we're going to do the opposite thing. We're going to turn it back into a long number. So for question 3, how much is 1.34 times 10 to the power 5? The first thing that we can recognize is that 10 to the power 5 means times 100,000. How do I know it's 100,000? Because it's 10 to the 5, so it's going to have 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Why is it multiply? Because that is a positive integer, so positive means multiply. Before we do that question, let's look at the one underneath, times 10 to the minus 4, and 10 to the minus 4 is going to be divide by 10,000. How do I know it's 10,000? Because 4 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it is a negative number, which means divide. Okay, so right off the bat, we can just say 1.34 times 100,000, or we can do it by moving the decimal places. Every time we move a decimal place, if we move the decimal place to the right, we're essentially multiplying by 10. If we move the decimal place to the left, we are essentially dividing by 10. It's the opposite of what we were doing when we were transitioning, converting to standard form. So let's do it the longer way of moving the decimal place. We have 1.34. We're going to move the decimal place 5 times because it's 10 to the power 5. So there's 1, there's 2. We seem to have run out. So what we're going to do is simply add some zeros on. We're allowed to add these zeros on because they're after the decimal place. They don't actually change the number. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to move the decimal place to here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the same as the number that was there. So now we have 134,000 as your answer. You could also just multiply 1.34 by 100,000 and you would get the same thing. Looking at question 4, how much is 6.34 times 10 to the minus 4? Well, we already know that we could put this into our calculator either as 6.34 times 10 to the minus 4 or 6.34 divided by 10,000. We can also do it move the decimal way. We have 6.34, and we're going to move the decimal place 4 times, because it's times 10 to the 4, to the left. So first thing we'll do is there's 1. Do that in red. We've run out, but again, we can put zeros at the front here. It doesn't change the number. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So our answer is going to be 0.0000634. Again, you can do 6.34 times 10 to the minus 4 in your calculator. You could also write that as 6.34 divided by 10,000, or you can move the decimal place to the left 4 times, and you will end up with 0.00634.